My next guest on the program must be one of the busiest men around. A busy performer. He's here, there and he's everywhere, and he's turning up again in Melbourne, would you believe? His acting credits occupy 3 pages on my computer. They include film, television and stage, from Big Mama's House 2 to Young Indian, the Indiana Jones film, wasn't it? Through to Beaconsfield for television, and then Anne of Green Gables, and last year, of course, The Sound of Music right around Australia and here at the Regent. The list just goes on and on. Cameron Daddo is back in Melbourne. He's going to perform in The Haunting. It's adapted by Hugh Janes from the ghost stories of Charles Dickens. Cameron Daddo's on the line right now. Cameron, nice to have you back with us.
Thanks, Leigh. How are you?
I'm well, but perhaps not as busy as what you are. Goodness, you're a busy man, aren't you?
I guess so. It's a good way to be. I'm much better being busy than
Is it true that you now own your own jet?
in my mind.
In your mind?
Yes, my Commodore is my jet.
Your Commodore, is it? Yeah. When you're
Commodore
back...
station wagon.
Oh, go on. Go on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you're back and forth and back, aren't you? And you're back again. And how did Sound of Music wrap up for you? Because that was a fantastic show.
It was. It was a great experience. And, it's such an honour to be involved in a project like that, because it's such a part of the fabric of so many people, their lives. And so it was always a treat to get out there and do it, and to play the captain in that show was just, like I said, it was an honour, a privilege. Well,
you and I spoke about that particular show last year when I was here in Melbourne, and we had a lot of fun with you, and we went through all your history and what you've done over your life. We won't do that today because we've already gone there, but to read your bio and go through all of these things that you have done in your time, does anything stand out from film, stage or screen that you say was your number one?
Leigh, I don't have a number one. I have great experiences working, and Big River was my first musical. That's something that always pops out. Yeah. And working with John Bell, John English, people like that. Marsha Hines was in that. Vanetta Fields. I've had such a gifted time in terms of who I've worked with and what I've learnt, because I didn't go to drama school. I learnt on the job.
Did you really?
Yeah, and my first job was with a guy called there's his face. He's John Hargraves.
Right.
An actor who was an Aussie actor who many people would know. And Hargraves worked a lot in France, but he was someone that taught me a lot of my sort of film technique. John Hargraves, Johnny Hewitt, John Bache, just some great different actors. So, I feel very blessed.
It just shows it can be done, can't it? You must have had a talent to start with, though.
I had an instinct, I think, for it. That's the way. I did work with some NIDA teachers early on when I was doing Perfect Match, actually.
Oh,
that's
okay.
I started to work with. And we all have our different ways of going through things. Some people go to drama school, other people do what I did. There's no one way to get into the business. And but I remember those guys had said to me at the time, you've got a great instinct for this business, and I just ran with that. I just kept saying yes to opportunities.
Cameron, were you approached to do Perfect Match, or did you audition for that? What was it?
Well, yes, but answer yes to both those questions, Leigh. I was approached, which I initially said no. Because I was hosting my own afternoon kids show at that point.
That's right.
And I said no because I really was into this new idea that we were developing at the time for afternoon kids TV, and so they said, "Look, we want you to audition." So that was the boss, that was the general manager of Network 10. Asked me to do that. So, and then I was pulled aside very quietly and said, "No, you can't actually turn this down. You've got to audition." So I did. I auditioned. I think Larry Emder was in there in the mix. There's a whole bunch of
And you got it. There you are.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. At 21. At 21.
At 21 years of age, were you really?
Yeah, just 21.
There you are. Well, you're back in town now to star in this great production, The Haunting, based, of course, on Dickens. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a British thriller, and it just really does rely on great storytelling and depth of character. It is it's equal parts thriller and laugh, and it's great. It's just a really thrilling piece with it's like a horror, and it's a two-hander. I'm working with a young guy called Gig Clark, and Gig and I are at the moment working through our lines because it's just me and him battling it out with our senses. And
how do you go about learning lines like that? Are you good at it?
Yeah. Well, I had my moments. The thing about for me with learning lines, I have to stay well fed. Because if I work on an empty stomach, my brain goes frisk.
I like that.
I just have to keep grazing throughout the day.
Well, why not?
Berries,
Keep the sugar up.
Exactly. But the great thing about this play is there's nothing currently like it in theatre in Melbourne, and there hasn't been. I don't know if there ever has, and I'm very curious as to see how it goes because, like I said, there are laughs, there are great thrills, and it's just going to be very interesting to see how an audience responds. Because I know when I've been to see a horror movie in the movie theatre, some people scream, some people laugh, some people are responding to other people in the theatre at their reactions. But it's live. It's going to be
well,
live.
That's it, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
You're not watching a movie. You're there with the and I suppose if those screams come, that might put you off a little bit. Do you think?
Look, mate, it remains to be seen. I hope not, and it's mine and Geek's job to tell this story.
Yes,
and that's what we start rehearsals proper on Monday.
Cameron, you've done so many things in your life, like I said in the opening here. Let me go back a second. How do you? We talked about learning lines. When you're learning those lines, are you ever tempted, and the brain goes back and picks something up from, let's say, Beaconsfield or something else that you're learning? Does it ever do it?
No. Look, when I was young, when I first started, like Big River, those lines stayed in my head for a couple of years.
In
fact, I could probably still do some of that.
Come on, give us a couple. Come on.
You don't know about me without you read a book by the name of Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
Good idea.
It was stuff, you kind of dropped straight into it. Yeah. Nowadays, and that's right, during Big River, I was working with John Bell and Drew Forsyth. And Drew, one day, and I were talking, and he said, I forget my lines like 2 days after I'm finished. And I thought, how could you possibly do that? Well, that's what happened with The Sound of Music. I don't think I could drop into anything from The Sound of Music right now.
Yeah, there you are.
As opposed to last year. So maybe that's young brain. I don't know. Uncluttered young brain.
But that's an ability, isn't it, I suppose? You don't want to store all of those shows up in your brain, do you? You've got to have some, defragging, don't you, of the brain?
Well, I think so. It sort of tells me now that maybe there is a capacity. Maybe we do you've got to hit the delete switch,
Yes.
So I spoke to a director once, I was talking, and he was referring to another director who'd forgotten more than he's learnt,
Really?
So I maybe that's the case. So you just hang on to what you need.
The critics of this show over there in the UK have said an intriguing and gripping piece of theatre. Another one said, the UK theatre said, all the elements of a spooky night out. I think that says it, doesn't it?
Well, and the Athenaeum is going to lend itself to that.
Yeah, with the ghost.
Very much of a cocoon type theatre and old world, and it's set in a library sort of office space of this mid-1800 mansion in the country of England. And so it's very Dickensian. The dialogue is very, very flowery and onomatopoeic. It's just rich and it's terrific. It will be a great, different night at the theatre.
I was reading that that the writer has taken this from about 5 books. Is that right?
Evidently, yeah.
And put it together. It'll be an interesting night. It's be great. Now, look, I'm overseas at that stage when it opens. Opening night's the 16th of June in Honolulu for about 10 days. Yeah, looking forward to it. But I'll be back before you finish. You're on for 2 weeks, I think, and you wrap up around about July.
That's correct. I think we wind up July 1, so there's not a huge window of time.
Well, I'll come and see it when we get back the 24th, so I'll come and see it when we get back, because this will be a must. As you said, you don't know how it's going to go. It hasn't been done before, and I think it'll be an intriguing show.
Yeah, it'll be very entertaining, and like I said, well, one thing I do understand, do know that most people walking out of the theatre will be going, what is real and what is not? There'll be a lot of great conversation afterwards going, what happened? What just happened? And it will certainly take take us all on a great journey, and I'm so excited to get going on it.
Cameron, I can't wait to see it. We'll be there towards the end of the season, but the opening is, I think it starts on the 14th, opening night's the 16th. It's Tuesday, 7:30, Tuesday through to Saturday. There's a 3 o'clock matinee on Saturday, June the 24th, and prices start at $79, and you can book through ticketek.com.au or phoning 13 28 49. Ticketek, the booking agency. Cameron, great to catch up with you, pal. All the best back in Melbourne. And is this one going to tour or just be in Melbourne?
If it goes well here, I'm hoping that it will, because we're putting enough work into it to certainly say, why are we not touring this? So,
yeah. Well, I wish you well, you and Gig. I know it's going to go well for you, mate. It's something quite different. And at the Athenaeum, I don't think we've got a ghost in there, but we might find one.
Yes, well, evidently there is some sort of ghostly activity in the Ath, same as the Prinny. So we shall see. Okay. And come see me at the end of the end at the stage door. Gig and I will come out and we'll take questions or whatever. It should be. I'm really curious.
You'll do a Q&A afterwards.
Yeah, at the stage door.
Cameron, take care, mate. We'll listen in to you tonight on radio.
Thanks, Leigh.
Take care, mate. Okay, bye-bye to you.
Bye.